All right, welcome back. It's been a while. Haven't done a video for you guys in a while, and I was inspired to do another one by some things I saw on Twitter today, and or a thing I saw on Twitter today. Basically, it was a comment that about Roman Reigns, and that you know, his reign as Universal Champion is not doing anything to help anybody. Okay, first of all, um, there are people who, okay, Jay Uso came out of a feud, basically a 2 month thing with Roman Reigns, having never been in any type of singles title match of any kind, came out, had two title matches for the Universal title, including one pay per view main event, and he looked really good in those matches to the point where a lot of people were like, well, maybe he should get a singles run. Okay. And, I mean, that's enough. Because why? Because look, it is not the responsibility of the top people or the champions to elevate anyone. Okay, because usually, the idea behind this whole elevation thing is that I don't know, through by having a certain quality of match with them, or you know, taking a bunch of their offense during the match, or maybe even like losing to them in like a non-title match or some other kind of match or something, that you will somehow convince the audience that this person should move up the card or should be like a future champion or something. And the problem with that is that whether or not somebody should be a future main eventer or future champion is very much a, excuse me, I'm sorry, I have the football game on here in the background. I'm turning the volume down. All right, but anyway, whether or not somebody is like a perceived as a future champion is largely dependent on what the audience thinks about them, like how they look, how they present themselves, their mannerisms, the way they walk to the ring, the way they talk, all that kind of stuff. All right. And simply, giving somebody a win over a top person is it just that is not enough. Okay. Having them look good in a match against a top person is not enough. Okay. If the audience does not believe that you are credible, that you are somebody who should be world champion, if they don't see you as that, then winning a match doesn't change that. Okay, and Exhibit A is Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley 3 years ago, or 3.5 years ago at this point, beat Roman Reigns clean at Extreme Rules. Now, before that match, people were not really sold on Bobby Lashley because he was just a big, boring dude, right? Even though, I mean, he's in great shape, he's a big guy, he can throw people all around the ring, and he looks, like a dominating presence. And yet, and yet, back then, people did not see him that way. They saw him as just like a big, boring dude. So he beats Roman Reigns, and guess what? People still think he was a big, boring dude. So you fast forward a couple of years, he gets with MVP, they form the Hurt Business, they start, he's putting the suits on, walking around, and they walk around like they own the place. MVP does most of the talking for him, but then he eventually gets better at talking himself. But most importantly, he carried and conducted himself like a big deal, like a big star, like a man who should be the world champion. And guess what? People took him seriously as somebody who should be the world champion, and then he became the world champion. All right, that's what happened. He changed his presentation, changed the way he talked, changed the way he walked around, and all of that. Okay, that did more to convince people than beating Roman Reigns clean on a pay-per-view. All right, simply beating a top person is not enough. Looking good in a match against a top person is not enough. Okay, you have to convince the people to believe in you. And if they don't, doesn't matter what the top person or what the champion does for you. It doesn't matter. Okay? If the audience thinks you're a buster and then you get booked to beat one of the top people, they're going to wonder why on earth did they have this buster beat the top person. Okay, that's what they're going to do. They're not going to say, "Oh, well, they're not a buster anymore because they beat the top person." That's not how it works. Okay, it's never worked that way. All right. If the only way, I mean, if you're counting on winning a match to make somebody look like they should be a champion, then you're barking up the wrong tree. You really are. All right. Sorry, it's just the way it is. So please do not do that. Do not go around, hoping and praying for, well, if they would just have the top person put them over, then maybe they would look credible. No, 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 no. Doesn't work that way. Does not work that way. Okay, you gotta convince people that you're credible, then you get to go over the top people. All right, that's how it's always been. All right, Hulk Hogan did not win a match to convince people. He convinced people, then he won the title. Ric Flair did not win a match to convince people. He convinced people first. All right, and the list goes on and on. All right, Stone Cold Steve Austin lost a bunch of matches during the year that he rose up in the ranks and became the top person in the WWF. He lost a bunch of pay-per-view matches. Okay, a bunch of them. Okay, The Rock lost a bunch of matches the year that he became the world champion for the first time. All right, just how it works. Okay, it's not the winning and losing that makes people look at you like you should be a champion. Okay, it's everything else. Okay, it's how you present yourself. It's how you walk to the ring. It's how you talk. It's your mannerisms. It's how you work in the ring. And I don't mean like how many moves you can do and all that. It's how you present yourself during the course of the match. It's how you make the match look when you're working. Okay, it's all of those things. It's pretty much everything except getting some victory to convince people. Okay, you don't convince people through victories. Okay, the victory is the thing you get after you convince people. All right, and that's all there is to it. Let me give you another example. Okay, and this isn't about wrestling, but if you're an asshole and you pledge a fraternity and you cross over and you become a member of the fraternity, you're still an asshole. Okay, it doesn't change. You're just an asshole that's in the fraternity. All right, so it's the same concept, the same principle. Sorry. All right, so that's all it is, and I'm about done. And look, this time, this was not brought up by somebody who charges you money for subscriptions, so I will not do my usual comic book gimmick, and hold up something and say, "Hey, well, you could have bought this for me instead of paying them $12," right? Because this wasn't from one of those people. So this time, I don't know. Look, you want to send me money, you can still send me money now. I mean, I'm not going to complain. But anyway, look, and I wrote about this, at my website, robsagenius.com. I wrote about this in a lot longer form. You should go read it there. Um, and it's called "What Is Elevation." That's the name of the piece. Again, at robsagenius.com, and you can go read that. And there's a good chance I'll be talking about this some other time in some other form also. But anyway, that's it. I'm going back to the college football here, and y'all have fun.